And we're off. I want to thank everyone for watching our video for Master Gardener Recruitment this evening. This is an attempt to help people learn about Master Gardener prior to sign up starting in December of this year, because Master Gardener sign up officially starts in 2022 in January and ends around the 15th of the month. So come on in. And it is a great way for people to have an idea about the program and what the program entails to get started with and to catch when people can register. So I'm going to start my slide share and show the slide share for those who are in the room. You get to watch the program from your handouts as well. But this is just a basic overview of what Master Gardener is and what we are and what we do and what you can learn from the program. So basically, Master Gardeners are people who just have an interest in learning and sharing about horticulture and sharing it with the general public and giving correct recommendations out to the public on what they've learned from the university extension system. When people think of Master Gardeners, sometimes they think, I'm not a Master Gardener, I'm not a pro. You don't have to be a pro. You just need to be able to learn and share what you've learned with others. So that's what we're here for, is to help people build their toolbox of skills and information that helps them in their home landscapes, as well as any projects that you may participate with in the Master Gardener program or with other groups in your community. One of the big things is that you have the ability as a Master Gardener to help pick out the classes that you want to learn and help plan the teaching and learning opportunities here locally and also at a state level, because Master Gardeners do give input at the state and local level on what kind of volunteer projects that we do, and to be ready to have fun while you learn. And many of our Master Gardeners have become lifelong friends since they joined the group and learn lots of information and share their skills, because not everyone has the same interests, and they have the ability to share those interests and things that they know prior to. So everyone adds to the body of knowledge that we have here with Master Gardener across the state of Nebraska. So the requirements is just, the first one is a basic interest in learning about horticultural topics and related fields. And so when I talk horticultural topics, we're talking about turfgrass care, forestry, talking about rainwater runoff and rainwater management, vegetable gardening, fruit crops, insects, diseases, food safety. All of those bleed together into the field of horticulture. So it's not just gardening. Gardening is one piece of whether it's a flower garden or whether it's a vegetable garden, but we talk about everything that's connected in and learning how to do some landscape design, landscape planning, working with Mother Nature and all of her foibles out here in Western Nebraska, which can be up and down every day. Just give 15 minutes and the weather will change. So that will be a big piece. Also being a positive ambassador of Nebraska Extension. It's being proud to wear the name badge and say, yes, I'm a Master Gardener, and being a good ambassador to our local community and beyond. Also, we have some forms that we fill out as a requirement, is such as a code of conduct that you will behave with a certain set of behavioral standards. There's also a liability form, and what we have a pesticide recommendation policy, meaning that when we recommend pesticide use, that we do not recommend over the label recommendation, that we will not follow the rule of if a little bit does good, a whole lot does better. Basically, we're not going to do that. So the pesticide labels in the state of Nebraska are a legal document. So we do help people make good decisions with pesticide use. And that is taught in the program each and every year in different contexts of what we're doing. And also complete your education and your volunteer hours to maintain your certification. So we have lots and lots of learning opportunities to do the programs. So we have educational class programs. They can be in person, they can be online. So if you are a ways away, if you can't make it to a program night in person, you can watch online. We have master gardeners that are on the road traveling, so they watch the classes online. Or if someone's not feeling good, or if the weather's not cooperative, at least you can watch the class without being required to be on the road. And this is especially true for those who live a ways out from North Platte, in my case, where we teach. So if you do not feel like you want to get out with the weather, that's perfectly fine. You can watch the classes and participate at home if you like. So that is one of the beauties of distance education now, and what we've learned works and doesn't work from the COVID pandemic. But it's really nice for people to get together when we can and when you feel comfortable. So we plan and do some of our educational programming together, teaching projects, and you're not required to come to each and everything. It's just finding out things that you like to do and you like to help with, and then you get to count those hours for your volunteer hours. So we also have the ability to decide what direction the program goes. So each program is a little different on what projects you do and what you might be interested in doing. So we're not going to make anyone do a project that they do not care to participate in. That is fully up to you, and you get a say in how it's designed and planned. So we have two options to get your Master Gardener certification in. You can do everything, get everything done in 1 year, meaning 40 hours of education and 40 hours of volunteer service, and you pay the initial fee. And I did put our set of Master Gardener manuals out here on the table for you to look at of what the manuals look like, and our name badge. And that is going to be about $180. That includes your manuals, your name badge, your fees, and your first shirt, first Master Gardener shirt. If you need to pay in payments, you're welcome to pay in payments, and you do not have to worry about the cost of the program. Nebraska has been very lucky that our state coordinator is funded by the state and the UNL extension system as part of the faculty. Some states do not have that luxury, and the fees accordingly are much higher. So Nebraska is one of the more reasonable states to pay your initial fee. Some states, the fee is over $500 because they have to self-support with fees generated. So the other option is the option that most of us use in Western Nebraska, and that is 2 years, where you complete 40 hours of education in 2 years and 40 hours of service in 2 years. On your second year, you would pay your returning Master Gardener fee, which is only $20. So that first year you pay for the books and the name badge and the shirt, but after that, the fee is very nominal after that. So yes, you get both of those manuals. You get the spring bound manual, and then you also get a manual on wildlife damage control. And that's the one that's from Cornell University. We also have a turf grass management manual as well. And I couldn't find one off the fingertips, but it is a spiral bound book on turf grass management and diseases and weeds and things like that. Very handy. So you get quite a bit of educational material. If you come to classes in person, then I do all your color printing for you, and you can pack your manual full of handouts from every class. Or if you like, you'll also get an email. So you can email, you can print them off at home too, or save it to a thumb drive or save it to your computer. So you have lots of options with the materials that you get. Over time, I have several big, thick binders full of all the handouts that I've ever done. And one thing that I am toying with for next year, if you come to participate in the program, I can put all of the handouts on thumb drives. So you can have the little jump drive to put on your computer if you like that too. So less paper, and you just get a thumb drive if you like. So it makes life easier for everyone. And some people are very much paper learners. And so we print that off and you get 4-color copy or 4-color prints. So that'll help. We also, in our group here locally, we have usually serve coffee and tea and snacks. And so we make it a really fun environment learning together. So the veterans for our returning Master Gardeners who've done their classes, their initial certification, it's 10 hours of education. So the amount of education hours drops and the number of volunteer hours drop. And that includes planning and teaching. So if you help me plan a program, you can count that as volunteer hours as well. Our Master Gardeners here in the room tonight who have came get to participate, and they get to count that as a volunteer hour because they're going to share some of their experiences on why the Master Gardener program has benefited them. So we have 3 Master Gardeners here. We have Brad and Wanda Osnes from Stapleton, and we have Joan Steele. So we have some veterans here as well, and it's a great way to tell people about why it's important to them to participate. So we find lots of ways for you to count your hours towards your certification. We also welcome anyone who has passed in the program and wants to rejoin. So if they have completed their initial certification, they can come back in and return as a veteran. And so that's good. Or if you have not completed all your hours, we'll help you finish up your certification. So if you don't have your certification, we'll help you get that finished and get your certified, or you can return as a veteran status. So it's very easy to come back.
So then do you pay every year after?
Yes, it'd be the returning fee of just $20.
Every year after.
Mm-hmm. And that covers all your paperwork that we print off. So you get your handouts and it pays for your state dues as well. So you never have to worry about dues. That's paid all through the extension office. You pay the extension office and we send that money on. So it's, we spend a lot of money in paper and handouts.
That's why it pays to come to class.
And I do keep copies. So if you come to class, or if you can't come to class, but you watched online because there's something that happened, I do keep so many extra copies of every class so you can come get a handout from the class. So you can still get that. So that works good. So your education hours in general, they expand your personal knowledge and they help you add to your toolkit of skills. They include all areas of horticulture, well, like we talked about, or those related fields such as plant pathology, which are plant diseases, soils, insects, which is entomology. Also, we'll talk about weather as it relates to, so learning probably some meteorology in here. Also some work with chemistry, with the, not chemistry is like chemistry tests, but learning about pesticides and pesticide safety, which is really important. Also food safety as people are eating produce. So really good. We also have personal interest topics that fall in there. So we've had classes on deer-resistant plant materials. We've had classes on houseplants. We'd like to do a house class on terrarium building. So those are some things that are indoors, or maybe we want to hear about other topics that we hadn't thought about in the past, such as bark identification on a tree. Like people want to know, well, what tree is that in the dead of winter? And so that's kind of delving into some things that are more specific, but just some good skills. Also, we talk about butterfly gardening and landscaping that bring in beneficial insects. So lots of different things that you can help choose what topics we learn from each year. So lots of cool things.
Like I talked to a couple of people this year, and they said they have lots and lots of blooms on their plants, but they didn't produce as fast as they thought.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy told me, his dad told me, Probably because there was no bees.
We'll talk about that, the importance of pollinators, because they go hand in hand with so much we do. Also, the weather had a huge influence when pollen was developing on male flowers, or the flowers that have male and female parts. It was so hot, the pollen was damaged. And so the pollen was not very effective to pollinate. And so fruit set was damaged as well. So sometimes it's the weather. I know the lack of pollinators is a huge concept that we're always battling. So we're doing things to help, for instance, improve pollinator habitat in the landscape, and practices that we can do in the garden so we reduce using pesticides that might kill them. So all those little things that we do and we teach help that greater environment to be more healthy. So for instance, our food pantry garden out here at the farm in North Platte does not use any pesticides. So we do have some insect pests that we deal with, but we know that the damage on it is minimal versus having chemical residue on the produce that we're going to donate. So a lot of those things all go hand in hand. And so that's definitely something. And I've taught classes on beneficial insects that are the good guys. So we'll talk about them and their habits and some cool stuff with that. Here's some of the topics that we can count towards hours. And so sometimes it's just a matter of connecting where the program is or the opportunity is and which category it falls under. We have drop menus in our reporting system, and these are the categories that it can come out of. We have a statewide arboretum program here in the state, and anything that is offered through them as an educational program counts. Any of our distance programming that's offered from Lincoln counts, and we will promote that. You will get notices and emails of stuff that's coming up. They'll go directly to you. Anything that the Nebraska Forest Service offers, we do have a couple of foresters based here in North Platte, and they do some programming here throughout the state. The initial Master Gardener training class, which is this. We also have other programs that will be sponsored by the university that would be coming up that could be offered that you can attend. And also anything with game and parks related to landscapes and nature. Also, the Nebraska Master Naturalist program is another opportunity that would be great. And Backyard Farmer, you can watch Backyard Farmer on its regularly scheduled time on TV, or you can watch it on the net. So if you miss an episode, you can watch past episodes on Nebraska Educational TV. So that's a great one. All of these are opportunities to gain knowledge. Master Gardener classes that we have will start in January. We go through April, and you have lots of choices to attend. Each class is about 3 hours. We count it as 3 hours of time, whether it's a full 3 hours or not. We just count it as 3. And then we come back together in October and have 4 classes in October. So if you want to preview what a Master Gardener class would look like, you can attend one of our October classes. And they will be on Tuesday evenings at 7 o'clock.
So from October till when?
Just the month of October. So we have January through April, and then we break from May through September.
What do we do from April?
Oh, don't you worry. We have something in mind.
We have projects and things that you can learn. You can also,
I'm really excited about this.
and I can share, we have lots of other programs from other states on topics that are very practical that definitely benefit us too. So I'll email those out and you can watch those or look at resources, and you can participate in those from other states as well. So not only does your Nebraska fee get you into Nebraska programs, it also gets you into other state programs that I can access and you can participate in as well if it interests you. We have workshops from professional organizations such as the Nebraska Turf Association. So they have a turf field day at the research farm at Mead, north of Lincoln. Some people go to that. There's also the Nebraska Nurseries and Landscape Association They will have programs each year, as well as the Nebraska Arborist Association. So some of our master gardeners are arborists, have went through arborist training, so they can count those hours of participating in any educational program or field day or workshop with them. If you go to a home and garden show, that counts as time too, picking up new ideas to pass along and recommendations. We also have Master Gardener conferences. We have a International Master Gardener Conference on the odd years. Every odd year, it moves around the country, and there's usually 1,300, 1,400 Master Gardeners, all in a convention center. Huge field days and workshops and a huge trade show. The last conference that I went to was in 2011. I went to Charleston, West Virginia.
So they have them in different states every year.
And different states every other year. So the coordinators, so like the educators that oversee the programs, meet in the even years, and then the odd years are the conferences for the Master Gardeners. So one year, the conference was on a cruise ship that went to Alaska. So they had a lot of fun with that one. And I had a Master Gardener from North Platte go on that trip, and she had an absolute wonderful time. So lots of educational breakout sessions and learning opportunities. The conferences bounce from region to region where they go to and where it's hosted. We also have the ability to do some state conferences. Of course, with COVID, all this has changed quite a bit, but we have had statewide trainings and gatherings in Lincoln in the past. I also will take Master Gardeners on an educational field trip, usually in June. And we didn't get to do that in 2020 or 2021. But in the past, we have went to the Iris Farm and Alliance to see it. We went to Scottsbluff to see the Natural Resource District's subterranean greenhouse built into the ground. We have went to Lincoln to tour the governor's mansion, the grounds on the governor's mansion and the governor's residence, as well as the statewide arboretum there on East Campus. So we've also went out to Colorado a couple years, and we always love to go there. Colorado State University has one of the USDA field trials for bedding plants and perennials. And so they have a trial garden that is called All-American Selections, and they evaluate how each of these different bedding plant variety entries are maintained and how well they're scored, whether it's something that gets the seal of approval for an All-American selection. So that's cool. And they're all in this beautifully landscaped beds there on the Colorado State University campus. And you get to see it all. And so that's a lot of fun. And of course, a couple nurseries, we also check out nurseries, greenhouses, and get some good plant material before we go home. So we get to pick out where we get to go and do some fun things as well, some fun travel. So of things of interest. So that's a lot of fun. Volunteer hours in general are the ability for us to help the educational program. They help share correct information with the public. Sadly, social media has a lot of disinformation on gardening. So we're trying to basically combat bad information with good information. So that's important. We help improve public spaces with an educational component. So it's not just doing labor for the sake of labor. So our vegetable garden here at the farm is a grant to donate the food back to the food pantries. So people have more nutritional food choices, and that helps supplement our food pantries. So we will have another one next year. It'll be smaller in scope. It'll be a little bit easier to maintain. We're also, as a goal for this garden out here in front of the extension office, is to turn it into a certified pollinator habitat with the university. So we will have the mix of plants that grow well here in Western Nebraska with no extra irrigation, and it's whatever Mother Nature gives it. So it's got to be tough plant material, and we'll do the signage on that. So, and maintain it as more of a showpiece out here. So that will be fun. Build educational partnerships with organizations. We work with one grade school in North Platte currently on a garden in the bucket program. And that helps families do a little bit of vegetable gardening in a 5-gallon bucket. And so we help raise the plants for that project and teach them how to plant and answer questions. So that's a great opportunity. Sometimes we have worked with some of the service organizations in the community, and it has been a very good partnership. Sometimes we work with our faculty here with the university on research projects. In the past, we did a tomato research study with our specialist in Lincoln on raising tomatoes and drip irrigation. So you can help with that. That's an opportunity. I have people that write news articles that send them to the paper. I have people that do radio programs. I have people that would like to help with our social media Facebook page and adding content to it. So there's all different kinds of opportunities. So it's more than just on the knees and playing in the soil. If you don't want to do that, you can do other things. So, and also sorting out all the information, our resources. We have publication racks in all of our courthouses in Lincoln, Logan, and McPherson counties. And so we are identifying what materials go into each of those displays. So we can do that. We've also helped at the farmers market and also reaching people of all ages. We have not done this since I've been in North Platte, but I have in past as an extension agent in Kansas worked with a couple nursing homes, and we did horticultural therapy activities with nursing home residents. So that would also be an opportunity once we have the ability for visitors to come in full time with activity directors to do educational programming. So, and my amazing story about that was I was at Mount St. Joseph Care Home in Concordia, Kansas, was run by the Sisters of St. Joseph. And they were very nice to let me participate with their activities director. We had one resident that would come out to the activities. They would wheel her out and she would watch. She was nonverbal and not very expressive. But the more she came to stuff, the more she got a little animated and she started talking again. Wow. She started talking to people because it brought back memories. We do a lot of things related to gardening that were things that a lot of the residents would remember. Yeah. And so they had the most fun time picking apart dead marigolds, for instance, and collecting seeds and fun activities. So you got to think on a level that has a lot of, in that case, a lot of reminiscence, but seed saving is a good activity. And then those seeds would go towards their flower beds the next year. We also did houseplant cuttings and where they learned to root houseplants and start houseplants, and that would go in their rooms. So all kinds of fun stuff. So we've never worked with that here, but that would be something that we could do as an option. So the sky's the limit. If you have an idea that's educational, that's sharing with someone, let's try it. Let's see how we can make it happen. The bottom one's really important. It is not personal gardening for others. We will get calls every once in a while. I need a master gardener to come out and mow my lawn. Well, that's what you do to hire someone. A master gardener is not here to do your manual labor for you. It's for you to teach. So maybe you need to show people how to check the oil in the lawnmower or make sure that the lawnmower blades are sharp and that it's mowed at the correct height, but we're not going to literally mow the lawn for someone. So it's always an educational component. One that I get caught on a lot of times is people want their fruit trees pruned. And so, and it is a process. I've went out and I've showed them and I put the markings where they need to prune on which year, and we would mark that. But we're not physically doing someone else's work. We're always doing the teaching part and the sharing part.
If you did do their work, would you charge them for it?
You can't charge as a master gardener. So if you, if on Master Gardener time, if you want to work for someone, you can work for someone on your own time. Just,
No, I mean, just working for myself.
yeah, you can work for yourself. As you can't count as volunteer hours, but you can definitely. So if you have a lawn care business and you're part of Master Gardener, for example, you're learning and gathering information to be a better operation. Absolutely. You just can't count mowing someone's yard and getting paid for it as time for your program here. So there's these are the topics for Master Gardener. Can be state fair. We have a great group of people that go to the Nebraska State Fair every year and help catalog all the entries that come in and put the cards on them and the ribbons on them and comments and stacking everything. There's a whole fleet of judges that judge at the Nebraska State Fair. So basically you're helping them through the judging process and displaying it. We usually have about 1,500 entries to process, and flowers, house plants, vegetables, fruits, all that for display. And so that right there is easily an 8-hour day in an air-conditioned building with your lunch taken care of. So it's a way to get a lot of hours on one day, and you get to meet people that are part of Master Gardener in another part of the state and strike up friendships. The more years you go to some of those activities, you'll see the same people, and it's really pretty cool. So
You do it throughout the whole, however long the state fair lasts.
it's one day. A state fair is one day. It's the entry day for non-livestock projects.
Oh,
It's the Wednesday morning and afternoon before the state fair opens. So that's at the time when the state fairgrounds are empty and all these 4-H projects are coming in. They're judged before the gates are open to the general public. So that's important. So we also help, there's a state FFA contest. So if you help with it, it's a judging contest that goes on during the Nebraska State Fair. If you help at our local county fair as a superintendent, helping, take in entries and putting cards, the comment cards on things, that counts for volunteer hours. If you help with any 4-H projects, and I'll offer them, I'll put an email out saying we're going to do a project on building a desert garden, for instance. If you want to come and help with that, if it works in your schedule, you're welcome to do that. There's also community youth projects. I got a contact from the Boy Scouts and they want help, for instance, on some activities that they can do outdoors here at the farm, research farm, that counts towards their different badges. So I have the books and the manuals. I'll be meeting with that with that scout leader, but we'll find activities for them to do. And if you want to come out and help with that, that would count as well. Or with like the community garden. There's been a community garden in the past. There's also the vegetable garden here. Any demonstration landscape like our rain garden out here in front of the extension office counts. If you do any direct teaching with me, we do farm safety day in the springs usually. And so we teach lawnmower safety to school age kids. So we've had Master Gardeners help with it. That was prior to COVID, but we had that opportunity. There's school projects like our partnership with Lincoln Grade School in North Platte that we always build opportunities to show kids, a lot of times show and tell or show and share, or things that match to their science curriculum where we can come in and teach those kids, whether it's in class or after school. Anything with the nonprofits that have a project in the community that's related to gardening or serving on the local tree board, giving recommendations on tree selection and tree care based off of the information you've learned from us. Those are all examples. And then we have some counties have a big enough office that master gardeners have a desk where they can answer gardening questions. We don't have that luxury here. Our space is too small. But we used to do an Ask the Master Gardener booth at the local farmers market, where we would pull out publications for people to take and hand out good information on landscaping, flowers, tree care, some of our recipes related to canning. That works good at farmers markets. People would pick up. And so that was a fun project. We have a tent and we have tables and chairs we can do that for. We do have a couple master gardeners that write news columns for local papers. So if you've ever seen anything from Julie Jacobson in the North Platte Telegraph, that's one of our master gardeners. She writes. Collecting research data, that was the example of the tomato research project we had here. And we have the possibility of doing that more so in the future if you want to help with research projects and how we collect data, because there will be things going on in the evenings as well as during the day. So if you work during the day, there will be things going on in the evenings that we can do as well. So always something, anything related to our department of agronomy and horticulture, or in the university forest service or statewide arboretum. And then there's kind of this junk drawer other project that, you know, it may not fit in one of these others, but it'll fit in this category. So here is my contact information and my address. Our extension office for Lincoln, Logan, and McPherson counties is here at 348 West State Farm Road here in North Platte. We are across from Osgood Grade School on State Farm Road. We're on the University of Nebraska West Central Research and Extension Education Center. And our phone number is our direct number to 532-2683. And Mindy and Vicky are our office managers, and they will find me. If I'm not in the office, they'll find me if I'm out of the office, and my email address. And so that is the information that is about the Master Gardener program. And I'm going to drop the share and was going to ask if a couple of the Master Gardeners would like to come up, sit on the hot seat, and share about what they learned in the Master Gardener project. Someone break the ice. Joan, come up and break the ice. Joan Steele is one of our newer Master Gardeners that has been a lot of fun to work with, and she shares lots of great information and about how it has benefited her.
Hi there, I'm Joan Steele. Good chance to look at my hair now. Been outside. It's a busy time to be harvesting. I haven't been in the Master Gardener program. This is my third year, and I have learned about so many mistakes I've made. The older you get, you have less time to recover from mistakes. So if you don't make the mistakes, you don't have to recover from them. Every class I've gone to, we get handouts, and I learn something every time. And then if I forget it, I can go back through it. The books you get to start with are great. You can add so many things in your notebook that now I have 3 booklets full of information that I access because there's so much to access. There's just all kinds of stuff. David is very available. If you have a question, he can teach you many things. You just have to call him, ask him. He's very approachable. The other Master Gardeners, they're great too. And something I was really lacking in was understanding insects. I've learned a lot more about insects. I've lost a lot of trees since I started planting trees. And I know why I lost them. I didn't do site preparation. So I spent a lot of money, wasted a lot of money on plants that weren't successful. But now I know why they weren't successful. And I don't make the mistake. I don't spend the money unwisely. I've had better gardening experiences in the flower garden and the vegetable garden. You learn about soil, you learn about grass, trees, landscaping, insects. It just goes on and on. And you can go off topic in the classroom easily to say, you know, this isn't, we're talking about insects, but what about this flower variety that I saw? It isn't doing so well. And why isn't it doing so well? Well, that was meant to be down in Arizona's desert. And it's not going to work here. Or why aren't my hydrangeas working here? Well, they have certain needs and we don't give them those needs here. And so you spend a lot of money on some of those things. And I have looked at those hydrangeas and said, oh, they're beautiful, but I don't buy them. So anyway, I've learned a lot, and every class I learned something new.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
I covered it all.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody else can come up off that.
Are you sure, Brad and Wanda?
You guys have done it longer than me. Longevity.
Brad Osnes from Stapleton is going to come up here and share about his experiences. And Brad has been a very hopeful master gardener that has stood thick and thin with me on repairing tillers that don't want to behave in our vegetable gardens. So it's great to have his experience, but Brad will share what he has learned in the program.
Well, my wife and I'm not even going to tell you how long because I can't even tell you, but we've been doing this for at least 5 years, if not longer. But we started it mainly because we wanted to figure out or know what we were doing wrong with our garden and why things didn't work or grow as they should. And of course, as Joan said, some of it was the plant wasn't in the right place in the garden, or they require more sunshine, more shade, more water. And so we've learned a lot. We've helped with the garden out here at the farm as well. And it's been a labor intensive thing, but we've also learned that as you move forward with it, you can plant smarter, and instead of when space is available, you can spread things out more, and you can use some more equipment with your gardening rather than in a compact place where you can't but get on your hands and knees and hand weed or whatever. But we've enjoyed it. Again, Dave has been a wonderful world of knowledge, and he still won't tell all because there's just not enough time. But we've enjoyed it. We have learned a lot. The plant rotations is important, and how to try to put more plants with like your tomatoes and peppers and things need to be rotated around, and you need to try to keep them in a place where they get the sun, they get the water, but the nutrients that they take out of the ground must be replenished. So you need to try and put something back in that spot in a year, after a year or so that nutrient can get back and instilled in the ground and soil. And that does make it challenging, because if you are limited on space, you can't always move things around as well as you want. But that's what we've been learning, and we are planning on continuing to hopefully better our efforts at what we do with our yard and our garden. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brad. And these are just two testimonials of our master gardeners of what they have shared and what they've learned. And one thing that I will tell you, as I tell my master gardeners, I do not know everything, nor do I ever intend to think that I know everything. So everything is a learning project and a learning process. And this is an opportunity for all of us to learn. So we talk about some topics as they come up. Maybe it wasn't on the agenda, but it comes up and we get to talk about it, and we gather that knowledge together. And that's where the beauty of the program comes from, is from everyone's knowledge. Everyone has something to contribute to or has learned. And sometimes we learn from our mistakes. And a lot of times that's the best way to learn. So I've already made this mistake. Please don't go down the same road. So I'll save you. So for instance, if you don't want to put all those work and trying to raise those hydrangeas, for instance, here, or blueberries, then maybe skip those plants and try something else in the landscape. So learning from your mistakes, learning from others, being willing and ready to share is what's important in the process. And also the value of the program to the state and to our decision makers locally and at the federal level and the state level. The Master Gardener program here in Nebraska is counted on the number of hours that are donated back by the Master Gardeners. So as a state, the volunteer hours that are handed back as volunteer hours to do education for the University of Nebraska is the equivalent of 12 full-time horticulture educator positions. So that value is worth more educator positions than we have staffed in the state. There are about 7 of us outside of Lincoln. And your value as a Master Gardener is valued at a really high level beyond just hiring us. Is that you're the eyes and ears in the community that share what are priorities for people to know and learn. And your time is very valuable to us. So we share that with our legislature in Lincoln, in the unicameral, as well as our congressional delegation in Washington, D.C. as something that our legislators are very interested in, is the power of volunteerism in the state of Nebraska and how much people care and how it does impact the state. So that is it for tonight. I thank you for participating in this web video. And if you have any questions, you're more than free to give me a call or contact me on email. Thank you.